essentially what we're doing is capturing the body part ahead. We're capturing its X and Y location and then passing it to the body part behind. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing. We're just going to be passing it down the line. I tried a different approach earlier on when I was doing this, and I tried to figure out how I could calculate the next place to move and all that stuff. And then it finally dawned on me, I've already got the X and Y. If I just do that, it made my life so much simpler. Now let's go down to line 123. We've not used an array yet, so we're going to do that today. And it could be an array list, whatever you're comfortable with. I just made it a plain old array because I don't teach array list until the AP course. And so this is in the computer math or introduction to programming course, and we only do single dimension arrays. So that's why. So again, setting it up, data type, snake, it's an array. I call it snake array. That's really creative. And then I notice here, I set it up for 30. That's just an arbitrary number. You could change that to anything you want. The challenge you might have is as the snake gets longer, to not crash into itself and stop the game. But I mean, that makes it a little bit more exciting. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to go down to lines 224. And down here, we are going to be instantiating the snake array. So we're just going to uncomment these, and let's just look at it real quick. So we're going through the length of the array, which is 30. And for each one of them, we're creating a new snake. In the snake constructor, we pass it an X and a Y. I could have not had to do that because when I got to this point, I decided to put them all at 0, 0. But that's the way it is set up. So it's just putting all the snake objects up at the very top left corner. And I'm setting them all to false, meaning don't show any of them. So after we've done that, we're going to go down to line 274. And down here, if you notice, we have an if statement saying if the snake head moved. So we're going to be uncommenting 274 through 296, this whole section of code here. And so let's just kind of talk through it for a moment. So snakehead, which is our, let's see, where's snakehead over here, dot moved. Now, that is a Boolean over in snakehead. It's a public static, and so we can access it by giving it the class name dot and the variable name. So if it's true, if the snakehead moved, because if the snakehead didn't move, I don't need to do anything. Everybody's just holding in pattern. But if it did move, the first thing we're doing is capturing what was the snakehead previous X and Y. Again, these are variables in the snakehead object. So we're taking what was it before it moved is what we're doing. What was the snakehead's X and Y before we moved it over there? Then very simply, we're going through the snake array. And again, notice now, I probably should have been more creative on my naming, but I'm capturing the current elements, X and Y. So if we think about this the first time through, I'm capturing the 0 X and Y, the element of the snake array. And then I'm setting the 0 element to the previous, which in this case would have been the snakehead. And now I'm just capturing and putting the ones I just captured back in the previous X and Y, so I can just repeat this. And I'm just going to go through the whole array for each of the elements. So when they're done, they all have now the X and Y of the one right ahead of them. The good thing is I don't have to worry about what direction, because that's taken care of by the snakehead. because when it turns, the X and Y is turning. And so it just passes it down the line. And so if we made the snake array 50, it should work. I've not done that, but it certainly should. Now, we need to actually make it work. And so in line 304, right here, we're just going to uncomment this one line. I know it's inside of a for loop, but I think I've worked this out that we can just uncomment the one. And so that's going to call the snake runner, although it has to be part of that for loop. I'm going to have to say that it's got to be 302. I probably typed in the wrong thing. I don't know how that could possibly go through the whole thing. And so that's going to call that. Now, we have to go down to 334. Let's just come down to 334. Well, we'll come back to that. So I'm going to hit stop. I don't know if I'm going to get a compile error or not. Yeah, I thought maybe I had not taken care of one of the closed brackets for this for statement. Sorry about that. You know, you like to think you've covered everything, and then you find out. I think it's the one right here. 361. I'll fix the notes when I'm done. Okay. It'd be nice if it would show up on the screen, but obviously sometimes technology likes to get in our way. Oh, there we go. Okay. So we click on that. Now we've got the snake head. And let me just go up and see if we add a body part. We didn't. Now, the question we have to ask ourselves is, why not? What didn't we do? And so that's where I want to come back now and go to lines 333 to 340. Because in here, and we can just uncomment them and then I'll talk to them. So in here, if you think about this now, we didn't know which one we were adding. We knew we wanted to add one, but we don't know which one. And so this for loop is going through and it's finding the first one that is equal to show equals false and turning that one to true. And then we're using the break command to stop that for loop. And so essentially what it's going to do is go through the array until it finds the first one that isn't showing and turn it on. Because they're all there. They're all, you can't see them. They're all right there on the screen right now. So it's just finding that first one and then it's turning it on. So let's go back and let's try run again. And so now let's go up here and try to eat that apple. And I held my finger down too long, but the apple didn't move very far, so we added a couple body parts. And so now you can see that when it touches, we're just adding the body parts. And it's just following it. I'm not even sure where the apple went that time. Oh, see, it's hidden. And so then when it keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. So that's the essence of the game. That's it. Now, there's some other things here that I wanted to talk through to kind of add to it. So for instance, one of the features of the game that I have over here is that if you touch yourself like I just did, you crash. The snake's head's not supposed to touch any part of the body. And so we have to kind of add that into it. And so that's the next section, which is if we go to lines 306, right up here to 315, and we're just going to uncomment them and just talk through it for a moment. So again, we're in the same for loop going through the snake array. So up here, we were drawing the snake body part. And now we're saying, hey, is that body part, is it for show? Because I don't want to stop the game if it's not one that's been added. And my snakehead get head bounds, does that intersect with the current snake body part? And it's going to go through, obviously, this is a fairly large for loop, but it's going to go through the whole array. And if the snakehead is touching or intersecting with any part of the snake, basically, I'm printing out something in red and putting out a drawstring that says you crashed into yourself. And then I'm stopping the timer. T is our timer. And so it stops and the game is just in a standstill. The program is not going to recreate itself at all. You could, I just chose to stop the game. So if we go back out and try this again, and I've done this so many times that I'm pretty comfortable with crashing because I won't be paying attention, and then I'll move my finger on the wrong key. So now we've got two of them. The easiest way to test this is I'm pointing up. I'm just going to point down. And I got through it, okay? Now, we'll go fix that in just 1 second. Because the unfortunate part is I have to have 3 body parts in order to know that I crashed. And that's just a technical faux pas that I've never gone back and really created. But notice now it crashed and the screen is not active anymore. So that's what we've done. All right. The next item that I was going to touch on was keeping score. And so we're going to go back to line 100 and uncomment that, which is our private integer for how many apples have we eaten. And then we're going to go to line 330, kind of back down where we were. And we're going to uncomment this line. Notice this is right underneath where we did the intersection, the collision the other day. So when the snakehead touched the apple, we went to that method called AppleEaton, which created the random location for the next apple. Now we're just going to add to our score. Now, obviously, we have to print the score, so we're going to go down to lines 362 to 366, which are right here. And again, it's just another draw statement that this will happen. Obviously, this is going to happen every time. And so when we come down through our code, I'm going to hit stop and try run again. And so instantly, when we go through our paint component the first time, so as soon as I hit this, notice this code is in line. So it gets executed, and here's the number of apples eaten, 0. And so now if we move over and we go up and come over and come down, and it just went up to 1 and then 2. And so it keeps track of it. Part of what I'm covering here are the, I don't know, I guess I would call it the glitzy things you can add to different kinds of games, how you might do it. And we're going to talk about that here in a couple of minutes. There are so many things that you could add to this game or any game for like levels. For instance, notice I started off and I said I had 30. Well, what if you wanted to change that? When you get to 5 apples, then it goes up. You could do that. What if the speed of the apple goes faster? And if you don't get it in time, you take a point away. I mean, so there's just a lot of things that you could consider long-term for options to make different levels of the game. So we've added the score. Now, while we're right here, let's go up to lines 341 to 359 and 341 through 359. And I've already done 361 earlier. Okay, this code, notice it says Boolean not done. So what this for loop is doing is going through the snake array, trying to see if there's any that says false. If it doesn't find one, I mean, if it does find one, not done is false. Otherwise, it sets it to true. And then if not done is true, then we go through and we say, hey, great job, you finished the game. Now, I'm not going to bore you because it takes me way too long to get 30 of them, but you can certainly try that on your own after we're done and see that it does actually do that. Okay, let me just hit stop and run again. I want to make sure I don't leave you with any compile errors. I think that should work. Looks like it is. All right. The next, I'm not sure why it didn't pop up there. The next item I was going to cover was adding like a stopwatch. And again, you can use this as part of your gaming theory as well, that, you know, they have only so long to finish level 1 or whatever technique you might want. So in this case, we're going to go to lines 82. We kind of skipped over these the other day, and I said, well, we will get to these. So here's lines 82, so 82 to 84. I must have changed some of my code. Okay, it's 90 to 92. I'm not sure what I added to my code since I wrote the directions. But these are the ones that we're going to be using for the displaying the time. I rarely ever use long and float. In my AP class, I'll touch on them, but they're not even, I don't think, covered in the AP exam anymore. So, you know, when the kids ask me, what is a long, I just say, it's a longer integer. It's twice as long. I mean, it's just, and a float is a bigger double, you know, just to kind of give them a sense of what it is. All right, now, let's see if my numbers line up now. If I go to, line 145. Yeah, I don't know what happened to my numbering scheme. I do not know what I added. Okay, I will try to go back and fix those and republish that. But we're going to start the timer inside of here. Now, it's a different type of time. We're just getting the current system time in milliseconds, and we're just assigning it to start. And then we're going to go down to, say somewhere around 360. Let's see. Now it's a little bit further down, 368 right here. And we're going to uncomment that group, 368 to 376. And basically, it's stuff we've already covered, but here we're capturing the end. We're capturing the current time. And then we're just doing a division, taking the ending time minus the starting time, dividing by 1,000 floating, and then we do a formatting, and then we draw the seconds. And so when we run it now, we will have a sort of like a stopwatch. Now, I did not add any levels of play to this. but we could. So if you notice over here on the right-hand side, it's a little bit off the screen today because I've made the screen smaller. Let's see if I can widen it any. I don't know if it will get on there or not. Let's see. So, but you see the timer. And so now as we play the game, you know, we could, if you were doing a competition, you know, you could set it up for multiple players, you could keep track of the players, and you could keep track of how many apples did they eat and how long did it take them. So that is kind of the conclusion of the snake game. There's one set of code in here that I'm not going to talk to, but you can certainly add to it if you want, is I did add another image called the croc, the crocodile. And it just randomly shows up after 10 apples have been eaten. And so this is like a level 1 or level 2. And it just shows up, and then I do collision detection. And if it touches the snake lost. So it's just kind of a way to kind of just add a little bit more to it. I'll make sure in the final selection of files that I add the Croc Image file so that if you need to get it, you can. But that's what this, when you look at it, you're going to say, well, we never talked about that. That's what that is. I just added a level in there. I just didn't think it was something we should spend our time on today. So it's been a long 3 days, I know, for you to listen to me talk and try to go through as much of this as I can. Obviously, I hope that you are able to take all of it, some of it, whatever, and incorporate it into your world. You certainly, everybody, as I said yesterday, everybody has their own style. And so there's nothing in here that if you change something, I would say, oh, that's wrong. Not at all. I mean, we all kind of get comfortable with what we know. And so sometimes it's hard to step out of that. And so sometimes when we go to something like this, we hear somebody else say something, we're like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. And so that's my hope, is just to pass along, maybe, you know, create some ideas for you, how you might use it in your classroom, and, you know, go from there. So I think it is almost 3:30. So Lori, I'll keep sharing, but if you want to handle any, I don't know if there's any questions in the chat room. I obviously don't have that open.
Let me look. Let's see. I think somebody had asked a question or commented early on. I'm just going back a little bit. Oh, when I run today's starter code, no text or images appear. Rarely the welcome screen will appear for a split second and then disappear. But I think that might just be, we might be seeing a lag there. I know we were experiencing that the other day, weren't we? Or
so that was John.
yeah.
John, I know
there
the
we
other
go.
day we had an issue with the size of the screen. I don't know what kind of device you're on, but in my program over here, I've set the size to 500, 500. If your window, your display window is not large enough, it's just going to be a blank screen. Nothing's going to show up. Let me just show you real quick. I slide mine over and let me hit stop and then run. It's just going to kind of sit there like that. And I don't pretend to know the reason why. I don't know, Lori, if you know, I don't know. It has something to do with the screen rendering, and I just don't know the process. So I don't know, John, if that's what you had or not, but if that's the case, just be aware of that. That's one of those I've not seen written down. Okay, and so if you're using CodeHS for your class this year, just keep that in the back of your mind.
Now that you said that, I remembered that. So I'll take that back to our engineers too and make sure to talk to them about that. So, and I think I cut you off, John. I'm sorry.
That's okay, thanks. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I am on a full size laptop, and I extended the display window to take the whole screen. I'm still just getting just getting a blank screen. But yeah, I don't want to take up everybody's time. But yeah, I'm not sure what's going on.
John, I know I had that issue before myself where I was just kind of struggling to get it to run. For me, it was a bandwidth issue. And you're probably not having that issue, but sometimes Zoom might be a little bit of a stinker.
Right. Yeah. That does not sound impossible. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. I'll try it during quieter hours.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Thanks,
Wish
Jamie.
we had a more definitive thing, but definitely the screen size can absolutely be an issue. And I wrote it down so I remember it now, Gary, and I will take that back to the engineers too. Priscilla has a question about an error online in her code.
Okay. Let's see.
It says on 365, cannot find symbol.
Okay. 365. Okay. I'm going to say it's probably my fault, Linda or Priscilla, that it's probably one of my line numbers that was off. Probably when I was running this, I probably changed some line numbers. So 365 should be this drawstring. And these two brackets down here should be uncommented, 378 and 381. As well as to make sure that these are all uncommented up here as well at 359, 360, and 361. Because at this point, the only thing that should still be commented out really is 317 through 325. And that's for the Croc. I don't know if did that help you, Priscilla?
It's actually saying 375.
Okay. So if I'm going to guess, obviously I can't see your screen, but just make sure that everything is uncommented down to 382 here. As well as starting up here at the if statement on 327, as well as the for loop up here. It just sounds like it's not sensing the correct bracket opening and closing combination. Ken, I see you asking the question about the Croc. I'll add that back in, and Lori, I'll send that to you in the morning, and we can just put it back into the link, and I'll update the document so that it matches the numbers. I know, as I'm sitting here, I know exactly what happened. I copied the sandbox into another sandbox so I could test it, and my numbering got off. And so I apologize. So I'll fix the numbering on the instructions, and then I'll add the Croc in. which is just really one more file. I mean, let me just slide over. I'm still sharing so you can see it. The Croc is, where is he? He's right here. It's just another image. And right now I have it set up so that when it hits 10, it shows up. But I'll publish this set of code tomorrow morning. And in terms of demoing to your class, if you wanted to, Lori, I think there's two ways. The one is the link that I thought was on the original brochure, maybe.
Yes, or what you can also, yes, and you can get that yourself once you fork the sandbox.
Right.
So
Right.
Gary, if you click on, can you click share for me on your sandbox?
Oh, sure.
Actually go over.
Do you want me to come down?
Is there something under more? Yeah, click that one too. Okay.
Oh, you want me to go over here and do it, didn't you?
You could do it from there too, I think. But yeah, click on share but on the code editor up by save. No, not quite there. Yeah. There, yep. And now here, if you go to, rather than sharing, rather than sharing code, you could go to app, and that would just give you the link to run the code. And then the embed link, I think you could use that too, and that should not show the code. Can you click on embed?
App plus code.
Yeah, there we go. So we could send that just to app only, then you can embed it. Cool. That's perfect. And what an awesome way to make a showcase of all of your student code. So awesome.
Yeah, I actually did that this spring. I'm not sure if that was a new feature this year. I just happened to get an email from somebody about it from CodeHS, and so I did that this spring. And being 90% virtual and 2% in the room, it was a great way to kind of show off the work that everybody did.
For sure.
Back up.
We suddenly had very loud announcements, so I had to unmute
or
mute myself. Sorry about that. I don't know that there's any place that's totally quiet in the airport. So as good as this airport is, I'm going to drop the link in one more time. Give me 1 second. So I'm going to drop the link in for the notes one more time. There we go. And okay, looks like Kent asked, so do you do this work in an intro class prior to AP?
Yeah, I saw that note, Kent. Yes, I do. I'm not sure that's the best way. In the intro class, I'm hoping kids, maybe, I'm not sure what the right percentage is, but I'd be happy, I guess, if 50% stuck coming into the AP class. I mean, I'm not sure what the right percentage is, but, we all know that's not going to be the reality. And so part of what I really, myself, I try to focus on is kind of that critical thinking, logical thinking skill set, like algorithms, basically, algorithms. And so I really try to get them into thinking, and I don't have any right on this screen, but algorithms, how do we solve this problem? And so that's what I use these to kind of help and reinforce. I hope a little bit of the Java syntax catches, but I really hope it helps them begin to think about how to solve problems and how to break it down into objects. I really try to, the best I can, to kind of force that discussion right early on in terms of top-down design. And so encapsulation and, all the buzzwords that we all throw around to talk about it, but to really create each object to stand alone and take care of itself and all of its attributes and et cetera. If they catch that, I think I've made a big win. The syntax, I know the AP exam, test you on that. But in life, I don't know about you, but Google's my best friend these days. Back in the day, we all had to get those big, thick books off the bookshelf to look up stuff. But now, with the advent of the internet, if I can kind of think how I should do something, I can find it. I can find it. I just have to know, okay, I'm doing some kind of a special thing. I don't know all the syntax. Oh, okay, let me go Google that. And I'll probably get there. So sometimes I feel sorry that the students have to learn so much of the syntax for the AP exam versus focusing on maybe the critical thinking more, but it is what it is.
I love that you're thinking about how the internet impacts the way kids can use code, and that you're, that impacts your teaching. I think that is so important. So love to hear that. Does anybody have other questions? Let me just see what I've missed. I did toss the workshop survey link out there. If anybody needs that, I'll do it one more time. Oops. Maybe I can type. Nope, I can't type. Okay, we'll try that one. Hey, Gary, what other classes do you teach? Kent was wondering.
I'm sorry, which classes?
Yeah.
So this coming up year, I will be teaching, I think I've got 3 sections of the Introduction to Programming, which I generally start with Carol to just kind of get them used to some of the terminology. What's a for loop? And, I try to make the analogy right off, like when we use the move on the Carol, it's a method. I know it's Python in that part of the section because they call them functions and whatever, but I try to make them kind of start to get the words. But then I move by the middle of the first quarter, I'm already moving them into Java. And do some prints and just go through some of the basics. But by the beginning of the second quarter, I'm starting to have them do some graphics. And what I try to then do is sprinkle in the Java constructs that I want to cover into the graphics, because I don't know, I guess I've just gotten to where I think that getting them to print something on the screen, I'm losing them. Whereas even if it's a snowman that, and I'm given half the code, I think they get more excited about seeing it than reading it. So I do that. So that's the intro. And then this year I have 2 AP computer science classes, and I'm teaching a third one, which is basically it's the computer science principles with Python, which I know about that much of Python. But Google's my best friend.
Awesome. I'm getting one more now. There we go. Let's see. So Danielle, any chance CodeHS will be adding a Java course, lesson, or unit that includes graphics? I don't think we have one right now, but anything is always a possibility. I don't think we have anything new like that on the horizon, but I know we're actually launching our new courses, I think this week. Yeah, I think later this week, maybe tomorrow. And so that means that once we get those start rolling out and we, keep making those edits and last minute tweaks to those, we'll actually start planning for what comes out next year. And so I can certainly add that to the list. They always survey all of us to see what we think would be good. And I would be definitely for that too. I was telling Gary when you first brought me your first idea for a workshop that I have gotten very into Java. Java did not used to be my favorite language. I was actually pretty down on it just because it was something I didn't know. The more I got used to it, and when I discovered graphics, it I love it. I do this in my free time while I'm watching movies now. So my poor husband cannot sit with me and watch a movie because I'm programming and then showing him what I made. So that's absolutely something that we can take back for sure. I'll add that to my notes. So I'm with you on it. I'll do what I can to push for it. I'd love to see more Java come into our courses. Is Nitro the aligned? Yes, Nitro is the one that is currently aligned with APCSA. You can still use Mocha, but Nitro is the one that's aligned. So I would go with Nitro. One of the things I've started looking at, if you haven't checked out Mocha, what I like to do is actually take some of those Mocha courses, or not courses, but Mocha lessons or some of the activities. And I feel like sometimes it'll give a little bit more support for students or for those learning Java, especially when it comes to instantiation, objects and classes, methods, things like that. I think there's some really good resources in the Mocha course. So remember, you can always take Nitro and then look at Mocha and add in any of those lessons if you feel like it could support your class or your students in any way. That's a really cool thing to do. Yeah, I love the Nitro course. I absolutely would use that as my base to go with for APCSA, but both are College Board approved. Cool. Any other questions, everybody? I don't think I've missed any. Oh, there we go. Oh, wow. So you've been with us for a while, Daniel. That's awesome. Cool. So you used Mocha when it first came out, or when it was first written.
I only get to teach CSA every couple of years, and so.
Oh, sure.
I remember though, like we started using it, and we went to like our fall break or something like that because we start ridiculously early. Like I'm back in school right now.
Oh.
And, we came back from fall break, and all of a sudden there were like new lessons and stuff on there, and the students were like, "Do we have to do them?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think you should." Like Jeremy and others were making them like right as we were doing it. Like they were recording.
Oh my
them,
gosh!
Continuing to update the course as we were doing it.
Which is pretty cool. So.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like I really felt like I got to know them really well, and then I met them at CSTA San Diego, the national conference when it was here, and I felt like I was meeting rock stars. So,
isn't that great? Okay, yeah. I have to tell you, I tell them that all the time. That, and I felt the same way. Well, I suppose they're still rock stars now, but I always thought of them as rock stars. So totally. I will definitely share that with them. I think just so you know, I think they blush a little bit. So.
I'm a little rusty with Java right now because it's been a few years, but cool. I'm looking forward to getting back into it.
Oh, it's so much fun. It's totally my favorite now. We are looking ahead to hopefully planning some more of these type of workshops. So just throwing that out there. So keep an eye on that page, and we'll definitely make a lot of announcements once we get some more workshops out there. So I definitely have a list of them that need to come out.
Well, thank you for hosting this. Thank you for hosting this. And thank you, Gary, for sharing your great curriculum.
Oh, thank you guys.
Yeah, Gary, thank you so much. This, and I apologize, I keep forgetting to mute when there's another announcement. Gary, this has been awesome. We absolutely appreciate this. You have put a ton of work into this, and this is going to benefit so many teachers and so many students. I hope you all can hear me okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. But thank you. We just appreciate it so much. So I will definitely send out an email follow-up. It'll probably come out Friday, might be toward Friday afternoon, but expect that to come out from me. And Gary, I'll make sure I wait to do that until I have everything from you, and I've run it past you to make sure I've included everything, because you have so many good resources. So you'll get the recordings and everything. So everybody, thank you so very much. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm going to drop my email in chat. as always, just Lori@CodeHS.com. Reach out to me with anything, whether it's about this workshop or whatever. And I'm happy to help. So Gary, again, thank you.
Thank you,
You're
guys.
awesome. You're awesome. This was great. So we'll go ahead and wrap up today. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a wonderful rest of your week. I'm so sorry if you are back in school right now. I hope it's going well. And yeah, if you have a little bit of summer vacation left, enjoy. Try to take some time to relax before you get back to those kiddos again. So thank you, everybody. And we'll see you again.
All right.
Hang on, Gary.